the status quo along the border cannot continue.
This is saying, okay, we have a broken system and we're going to purposefully make it worse on the backs of these children.
Good evening, I'm Judy Maggio, bringing you Decibel tonight from the Texas Capitol, where the incendiary issue of immigration is so often front and center, sparking emotional debate. But this summer, the fallout from family separation has been so fierce, it's created a national outcry far beyond Texas. This month, our Decibel team has been covering the immigration crackdown and the people caught in the crisis. The families torn apart.
No esperamos que todo esto fuera a suceder y no venimos pensando, oh, ok, voy a intentar pasar aunque me quiten a mi hijo. O sea, nadie, pienso yo, viene con esa mentalidad.
But their child would not return.
The advocates on the front lines and in the protest lines.
We need to stay on this administration until all of those families are reunited, no matter how long it takes.
That could have been us. We could have been separated.
And the mothers in custody facing an uncertain future.
It is not just how they treat us as if we were animals. From there on, we only went out when chained. Now it's going to be 2 months, and I still haven't seen my son. I am very sad, but I know that God is a God of justice.
There are no simple solutions on how to handle people who cross into our country illegally, but the images from the Texas border have been heartbreaking. Young children taken from their parents under the Trump administration's zero-tolerance policy. The president ordered family separation to end in June, but the painstaking process of reuniting parents and children has only just begun. One 6-year-old Salvadoran girl's cries were heard by millions as she was taken from her mother. In many ways, little Jimena became the voice of so many divided families.
No esperamos que todo esto fuera a suceder y no venimos pensando, oh, ok, voy a intentar pasar aunque me quiten a mi hijo. O sea, nadie, pienso yo, viene con esa mentalidad.
Ay, con mi tía por lo menos para que después llegue mi mami. ¿Me puedes abrir la puerta? Ahí me cerró la puerta esa. Que me venga a traer mi tía para llevarme.
Ella llama a tu tía si tú tienes número y habla con tu tía.
Tengo el número de ella.
Ah, pues ahorita ella te ayuda para que hable. Cálmate nada más.
Oír esa manera en la que ella hablaba, en la que ella pedía ser rescatada, podemos decirlo de esa manera. Es muy doloroso el oír la manera en que estos niños están sufriendo, están sin protección, literalmente. O sea, ellos están a lo desconocido. Como decía mi sobrina propia hace poco, yo le preguntaba, ¿estás bien? Y me decía, sí, pero tengo miedo porque no estoy con nadie de mi familia. Entonces los niños siempre van a buscar la protección familiar. O sea, como decía, vienen juntos y de repente pues ya no estén. Es bien doloroso oír de esta manera. Y ya no me imagino pues solo a mis sobrinas, sino a todos los niños que están pasando eso, aún más pequeños también.
Like so many children taken from their parents, Jimena was taken to a shelter run by an Austin-based nonprofit, Southwest Key. The group is under fire for making hundreds of millions of dollars off government contracts to run shelters, like this one in Brownsville called Casa Padre. I talked to Southwest Key founder and CEO Juan Sanchez.
We're not going to replace the parent. I mean, we're just not going to do that. But what is interesting, particularly the smaller kids, is that very quickly these kids bond with our staff, and they find some bonding with our staff. And it's a difficult thing, right? Because I think at some point they're going to leave. But it's interesting that little kids are finding this bonding with our staff. It is very difficult to see. But again, what can we do about it?
As we've said, reunifying these families is underway right now, but there is still a long road ahead. People sometimes ask why some immigrants choose to enter the country illegally rather than following the rules. Decibel's Blair Waltman-Alexan discovered that path is often costly, time-consuming, and complicated.
These 456 people have just become United States citizens.
I do.
It was a naturalization ceremony, and to watch all of those people from each of those countries get up when I call their country, it's awesome.
It means a lot. I've been waiting for this day since I first became a resident, which was when I was 8 years old. Yes, I'm excited for that.
Everyone here has their own story of how they got their citizenship and the often long and complicated path it took to get here. But those pathways are getting narrow.
Hi. I'm here for the training. I'm Miranda Roberts. I'm the volunteer coordinator at Refugee Services of Texas. We are hosting a volunteer training and orientation for new Welcome Team members. And so Welcome Team members, they set up the apartments for the families. They do an airport pickup. They help transport them to different appointments throughout Austin. Really, they're introducing them to the community, being their first American friends that they have here. This is great. This is going to be a good training. But with everything that's happening with the border crisis, we've certainly seen upwards of 60 to 70 volunteers signing up for our orientations and trainings.
The only problem? RST can only offer services to people who've been granted asylum or refugee status. And the Trump administration is granting that status to fewer and fewer people.
With President Obama, he had set the bar at 110,000 incoming refugees for that year, and then when President Trump came in, he reduced that number to 50,000.
No sé si ellos son los últimos que los van a ayudar o no sé, entonces en eso estamos en una incógnita. No sabemos si el procedimiento va a seguir o ya va a quedar ahí.
Santos has been in the U.S. since the 80s. He gained legal status under the Immigration Reform and Control Act. Santos is legally safe, but the policy crackdown still has him on edge, and it's making it difficult for him to safely get his family out of Honduras.
Digamos, ha hecho una vida aquí, pues. Vino el hijo Wilson, que me lo ayudaron por medio de esta organización a traerlo hacia acá. Y estamos esperando que vengan los otros hermanos, pues, mis otros hijos.
Wilson arrived via the Central American Minors Program, which I'll have Susan Stastny with RST explain.
It helped parents from Honduras and Guatemala and El Salvador apply for their children legally. And so it made a safe and legal way for children to be reuniting with their family.
That program was quietly eliminated last year.
Was there any reason given for getting rid of the program?
There was no reason given.
Getting refugee status can take years, but many people don't have that kind of time.
Yo salí huyendo por la violencia que sufría en mi país. Cuando migración me agarró a mí en la frontera después de haber cruzado el río, estuve detenida en la primera detención que me llevaron fue a Hidalgo. Estoy preocupada porque él no habría dado una oportunidad, porque él no nos puede deportar, porque es que nos van a mandar allá a que nos maten. Nos merecemos una oportunidad. Porque si decidimos huir es porque no aguantamos la violencia, no tenemos autoridad, no tenemos quienes nos protejan. Porque si hubieran autoridades que nos protegieran, no huyéramos a otro país.
Their best chance of entry runs along the southern border. And for asylum seekers, getting help quite literally depends on where they're standing.
Our laws require that an asylum seeker be inside the United States. You cannot apply for asylum if you're outside of the country. So, and the statute says it doesn't matter how you entered, but that you have to be inside.
The legal way to do it is to show up at a port of entry.
This is Matt Makiewicz, head of the Travis County Republican Party.
But it really does matter. There's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. If you come to the country wanting to seek asylum, but the first thing you do is enter illegally, you've committed a crime.
Entering the country illegally is a misdemeanor, but that charge seriously impedes a person's chances of getting asylum. But entering the country the legal way has gotten complicated.
What the Trump administration did in May was that they started posting Border Patrol officers in front of essentially the bridges, so that asylum seekers who wanted to come to the port of entry were prohibited from doing that. And they were told, come back later, we're not accepting people today, wait 5 hours, whatever. But the point is that the Border Patrol officers weren't even allowing people to get to the point of entry to apply for asylum.
And if they can't get in the country, they can't claim asylum.
So that leaves the only other option, which is to cross the border not at a point of entry. So that would be like getting an inner tube and coming across the river. I would equate an asylum trial to a criminal defendant who's being charged with a serious felony. Each individual final hearing is 4 or 5 hours with hundreds of pages of evidence and witness or expert testimony included with a cross-examination by the government attorney. It's a full-fledged court hearing.
That trial determines whether they're granted asylum or deported, but it can take years to get a hearing. Other programs that provided safe and legal pathways for immigrants have also been cut or severely limited. Last year, Trump ended the DACA program, which provided a pathway to citizenship for young adults brought to the country when they were children, leaving them in limbo. Earlier this year, TPS, or Temporary Protected Status, was cut. This program let people from countries rocked by war or natural disasters live and work in the United States. Reports have circulated about the military discharging immigrant enlistees, and recently, courts upheld the so-called Muslim travel ban. All this has groups like RST concerned that people will try and enter the country by much more dangerous means.
And it does have implications for increasing in trafficking.
We are hopeful that our survivors of human trafficking program is going to be able to help any children, any minors that are put in those situations that are lost in the system so that we're able to get them back reunited with their families.
Make sure you guys sign up here, like you sign your photo. You do it in black ink when you get home, all right? Congratulations. All right.
Problem exists because someone entered the country illegally. It is the foundational issue here. Once they've entered illegally, I don't know of any Republicans that are in favor of separating parents and children. They should stay together. But ultimately, we have to enforce our laws, and I think the Republican Party does stand for enforcing our laws. If people don't like the laws, run for Congress, serve in Congress, try to change the laws.
And that's what some new citizens are getting ready to do.
I felt I couldn't speak up, so I kind of just muted myself. So going forward, hopefully I can, speak a little bit more when something wrong is happening.
Many of the people trying to cross the border are escaping violence in their home countries in Central America. NPR reporter John Burnett followed along with a family from Guatemala.
To leave. So the whole family picks up and leaves for their lives and actually has documentation from a local judge saying they were threatened. They show up in Matamoros, Mexico. 3 times they try to cross, 3 times they're turned back by the immigration police. And then I show up and I say, well, you guys want to try again? I'll go with you. And so we figure with an NPR cap on and a microphone, maybe it'll be different. And sure enough, the 9 family members troop to the top of the bridge, and then suddenly they get some respect. But what's changed is the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, has said we are not going to accept domestic abuse or criminal gangs as a reason for asylum anymore. So it just brought home the wrenching stories, the heartbreaking stories of these immigrants that are coming across and asking for asylum.
Around the time of John's story, thousands of protesters across the country marched under the theme, Families Belong Together. Our coverage of the rally starts in the wee hours of the morning on a bus bound for Brownsville and ends here at the state capitol.
Four ACLU buses left Austin for the Families Belong Together rally. Caravans from all over Texas timed their trips to make sure over 1,000 participants could get there in time.
It's going to be hard for me, just being so close to the border, because on the other side is my country and where I was born. So for me personally, I think it's going to be really emotional, but I hope that it will be like a healing experience. I'm undocumented, I have DACA, so it's always been really important for me to fight for my own livelihood and my own rights and make sure that myself and my mom are able to live freely without being discriminated against or having this fear of being deported simply because we weren't born here.
Spirit of the divine, God of many names, be with us. And let the people inside these prisons feel our love and our presence to counter hate. We are incarcerating people for things that we used to ask of them willingly, come to our country and work, contribute. And, immigrants are our neighbors, our friends, our family, very vital and important members of our community.
If you ask, will we fight? Yes, we will.
We all know that children are being separated from their families, but I don't think that we're really letting it sink in how traumatizing it is to be ripped from your family. We're doing a lot of harm, and we don't really know the full extent of the harm that we're doing to these families.
I'm having a lot of mixed emotions because I could have been one of those children. If we had come 12 years later, to now, that could have been us. We could have been separated. I've seen DACA recipients be deported, so I'm terrified to be this close to the border. But I also know that it's my moral responsibility as someone with the privilege of DACA to be able to do that. I'm here for my mom, and I'm here for myself, and I'm here for every other immigrant that has been ripped apart from their families.
After Brownsville, the rallies continued.
2 days later, Families Belong Together rallies took center stage in Austin and across the country.
The indefinite detention of people, even with their children, is inhumane and unacceptable.
On a scorching Saturday, thousands of protesters converged on the state capitol. Though the crowd came from many different walks of life, their message was the same.
There is nothing more important in life than having family together.
We think as Americans that our country should be welcoming to all, and it's not happening. But this is not America. This is not who we are.
I'm grateful that by fortune, by luck, by chance, we happen to be born in the state, but my father wasn't. So it's very close to home.
It also hit home for the doctors who came to speak out for the families they serve.
I'm originally from El Salvador, and I've been here over 20 years. And I know firsthand what dangers the families are going through, and I cannot imagine the peril that they are willingly deciding to go through to come to this country.
How to handle immigration is a complex issue with no easy solutions. But at this rally, and hundreds like it, the call was for care and compassion.
When the cameras go away, when the politicians leave and start thinking about something else, we need you to keep going with us.
What are some of the rules of the detention center, the rules of the program?
In Austin, dozens of nonprofits have worked tirelessly for years, helping immigrants and asylum seekers. Grassroots leadership trains volunteers to work directly with the women held at the Detained Detention Center here in Central Texas.
These facilities thrive when no one pays attention, when people aren't looking at them, when people aren't going in them, when people aren't helping to get the people who are inside's word out. And I think that it's really I think that it's really in the interest of everyone for us to know what goes on inside of these facilities.
Grassroots leadership volunteers met with the women inside the detention center whose children had been taken from them at the border. In many ways, they provide the only lifeline to the outside world. One of those lifelines came in the form of letters detailing the journey and what happened behind the walls of the center. We asked volunteers to be the voices of those mothers.
My name is Perla.
My name is Yasmin, and I am the mother of 2 girls that were taken from my side.
My name is Dina. I'm Claudia.
Good afternoon. My name is Miriam.
I crossed the river on May 14th, and on the same day I turned myself in to migration.
When they detained me in the Icebox Detention Center, they separated me from my son. It was something so painful, as much for me as for him.
And said it would be just for a short time, that afterwards they would reunite them with me, but it wasn't true.
I cried so much. I felt that I was going insane.
and something was missing in my life. I was not complete.
I did not know about the new law that would separate children from their mothers. And as a mother, I can tell you that that is the hardest and most cruel thing a mother can feel.
That night, they took my son and asked me a number of questions. The official asked me about my medicine that I had in my things. I answered her fearfully that I am HIV positive.
When I came out, the guard told me to get on the bus because I was going to another detention center. I asked for my son and they told me, "Lady, your son isn't here. He's very far away. You are getting deported back to your country."
I was then transferred to McAllen, the dog pound, as they call it. I was there for 7 days without showering or brushing my teeth. I ate bread with cold-cut processed meat and a juice for every meal. I was surrounded by a lot of mothers crying for their children.
It has been a month that I have not seen him. As a desperate mother with my heart in my hand, I ask you, I beg you, in the name of compassion, that you help to return my son to me, because it gives me great anguish, pain, and desperation not to be able to see him.
One comes to this country to seek asylum, not to be in prison like a criminal, and for them to take your son. In all this time, we have only spoken 3 times, and the last time he told me that he's sad and asked, "When are we going to be together?" And that broke my heart.
I was very worried. 8 days without showering, without my medicine. I thought I would get sick.
They granted me another phone call at 10 a.m., but I was hardly able to talk to him because he was telling me that they had just given him 9 shots, and he began to cry harder and harder while he was telling me what was going on. I started to cry, and the woman who had granted me the call put the phone on speakerphone and told me, "Go to your room," and she didn't let me talk to my son, and she hung up the phone on purpose.
And I fear for my son's life and for mine if I return to El Salvador. But if you send me back to my country, well, what can I do? That is the will of God. But I ask you in the name of compassion, for the love of God, have mercy and return my son.
Many of them passed out when they heard we would get deported without our children, that they would stay here. There were many in each cell passing out over and over, and the officers just laughed.
It is not just how they treat us as if we were animals. From there on, we only went out when chained, but because they did not give me my medicine, my CD4 T-cell count got low, and they sent me to get my exams, and I went out a little unwell.
I've gone for 23 days without hearing anything about my son. I'm distraught. Please help me. This is the worst thing that they could have done to us. I want to be reunited with my son. I want to be with him. Help me. I can't stand the pain. Please take pity on me.
Now it's going to be 2 months, and I still haven't seen my son. I am very sad, but I know that God is a God of justice.
I have been detained for over a month. Since they detained me, I have been missing my girls. I haven't seen them for a month since we were separated.
Soon, my son, we are going to be together, and we will never again be separated. I love you, baby. Sending you kisses.
My son, I write you these words with immense pain in my heart to have you separated from me. But I want you to know that I miss you so much, and that every day I ask God that very soon we will be together again, and that they will never again separate you from me, because you are the most beautiful thing that God gave me, you, my son.
The Hutto Detention Center is in Williamson County, and recently county commissioners there voted to end their contract with the center. Now, Austin is a city that openly welcomes immigrants, and the mayor and most of the city council was so troubled by family separation, they decided to travel to Tornillo, Texas, near El Paso, to see some tent cities housing children for themselves.
But I think it's important also for the public to know that if those kids are reunited with their parents in a similar jail situation, that we're still so far behind where we just were a couple months ago. Before the zero tolerance policy, it made sense that if you were seeking refuge and asylum in this country, you could live in a community with your family and still go through the legal process.
We end tonight's Decibel where we began, with Jimena. Though hundreds of parents and children have yet to be reunited, her story has a happy ending.
Muy hermoso. It was so beautiful the moment that I saw her at the...
After more than a month of separation, Cindy Madrid and her daughter Allison Jimena were all smiles.
so happy because I was able to see her and to hug her.
There's still a long legal road ahead, but their attorney says Jimena has already made a huge difference in the plight of immigrant families.
Her voice is what I think exploded the Trump administration policy of separating the families and keeping it quiet. Nobody actually knew about this before the baby came up and had said, call my aunt, this is the phone number, would you please call my aunt? And had that audio not been sneaked out and not being brought forward the way it was, nobody would have actually known, nobody would have been here today to have received this type of news.
Fortunately, Jimena seemed unfazed by all the media focus. By the end of the news conference, she was ready to play with her new toys, just like any other 6-year-old.
Jimena and her mother remain together in Houston, and they have applied for refugee status. We'll keep you posted. If you enjoyed tonight's Decibel special, be sure to like our Decibel ATX Facebook page to share your thoughts and ideas and be part of key community conversations. Thanks so much for watching. Good night.